So good morning, everyone. It's nice actually to be back in person. I've had a few meetings lately that back up right to our 8:30 cutoff time, and so it's difficult for me to race home in order to do everything online. And of course, the office is not yet fully open, but we're working towards that. So for those of you who don't know me or have only seen me on Zoom, I've got my camera in front of me here to see everybody who's on our Zoom link. So I have been a Rotarian for quite some time now, and I'm always a little bit unsure of what my start date was, because it's all tied in with a whole bunch of things that were all happening at once in my life. So I finished, so a little bit about sort of the history of Michelle. So I went to the University of Waterloo and pursued, they have a specialized program, chartered accountancy, and with a co-op program, and that's where I did my BA. And because of the co-op program, I was working at a very Rotary-friendly company, Wilkinson and Company, in the Trenton office, with past president Wolf Wilkinson being the founder, and he was retired at the time that I joined the firm. And so it was a very Rotary-friendly organization when I finished university and began, after the co-op program, to be a full-time employee at Wilkinson and Company. So that would have been sort of 2002 to 2003 when I wrote my CA exams, and then on full-time and became a Rotarian shortly after. And then I met my wonderful husband, Rick. So if you don't know, the other Fiedorec in the club is my husband, Rick. So I think it was Joanne on the weekend said, "Oh, I didn't think about that." And I said, "Yeah, well, we don't exactly like hang out together at Rotary, because he's very tired of me with working at home all the time." So all of those things sort of happened around the same time. So I think I became a Rotarian at the Rotary Club of Trenton probably somewhere between 2004 and 2006. Rick and I were married in 2006, and I started my job at Empire Life here in Kingston in 2006. And then we bought our house here and moved in 2007 to Kingston, and joined this club when we were still meeting at the Cataraqui Club. A phone call to Joe Coley, who many of you will remember. Yeah. Joe Coley was the longtime secretary of the club. Joe had just retired from his role as secretary of the club. And so when I called his wife, Joe answered the phone, and there was this audible, kind of, I thought he was done with this, but I'll put you in touch. He was out when I called, and so I was invited to come to the morning meeting, and it was such a great group of people, and I had such a good time, and very different character than the Rotary Club of Trenton, much less formal. Much more collegial. I started calling everybody, by their official Rotary titles, because that's what you did in Trenton, or you ended up with a fine. And I was met with quite a few confused faces, and I just loved the fellowship and the camaraderie and the relaxed nature of our club. And so that was somewhere around 2007, 2008, and we began participating in the Rotary Youth Exchange program shortly after that. So somewhere between sort of 2008, 2009 year, and Mareike Lunning, who was our student from Germany, sat across the breakfast table and batted those gorgeous brown eyes of hers at Rick and said, "Why aren't you a Rotarian?" And so Mareike is the reason that Rick became a Rotarian in our club, and was sponsored by Heather Kemble, who through conversations we found out Heather had actually known Rick far longer than I had, because of shared business here in Kingston. So I worked for Empire Life in the tax department from 2000, well, not quite 2006, but it was the happiest time that I was there. I was in the tax department at Empire Life, so 2008, 9, until I left in 2017. And so I basically just kind of crossed the street, literally, from King Street and Johnson to the other side of King Street and Johnson to Homestead. So I no longer do taxes, haven't since I joined Homestead, which I never thought would be a really fun thing to leave behind. But it turns out that looking forward and helping to build something that is developing is a lot of fun. And it's a lot nicer than having to look backwards at taxes and figure out how to make something work that other people did without even consulting you, because that was, the job. So, so I've been with Homestead as their corporate treasurer since May of 2017, and great company, very different. I'm on the road a lot, so I deal with a lot of bankers. Some of the acquisitions that we do, which are an enormous amount of fun, because there's like a thing, there's a something, where with Empire Life, it's life insurance policies, and it was very sort of ephemeral because you were, quite frankly, an insurance company, it's all about the gamble, right? It's we bet when you're going to die and you bet against us. And that's kind of the game. And so everything is paper-based, but with Homestead, of course, it's like real things and real people who live in those things and make their homes in those spaces. And so it's really quite, thinking about, building and moving forward. So it's quite a mind shift for me in this new role, because as we put shovels in ground, or we're looking at making acquisitions there's like real buildings and there's real people and their homes. And when you're doing an acquisition tour, which are really a lot of fun, where you actually get to see the asset, but you're also looking at, like, you're getting to meet the people who live there as part of the tour. And because I'm not like super important to those tours, I'm just kind of there for, the finance lens of things. So you can get talking to people. And so nobody wants to talk to a tax accountant. It is the party killer. So if you're looking for a way to, get out of cocktail parties, just tell people you're a tax accountant. The conversation is over. You're done, and you can escape. So let's see. So I think that's me in a nutshell.
And you knit.
Oh, of course. Yes. I am a dedicated knitter. I don't even think about bringing that up, because it's just such an integral part of who I am. And I think that's part of the creative outlet that I have. I love knitting for two reasons. It's the ability to be creative and be useful at the same time. And so it's very much a William Morris kind of an idea. So William Morris was, of course, a pioneer in the arts and crafts movement in the UK at sort of as industrialization was sort of taking the soul out of the workmanship that was being done, although, there are lots of good things that came out of it. And so he had a phrase that was, you should have nothing in your home, and I'm paraphrasing, that you neither know to be useful or think to be beautiful. And so I really love knitting because it's useful things that can be beautiful or can just be useful. And again, it's a way to kind of make something into being. So I really like that. So I think that's me in a nutshell. Been kicking around for a while here through Rotary, and I think that's it. Oh, Heather is just saying, yes, you were president at one time. Yes, I was. I forget just exactly how I managed to allow that to happen.
You said yes. You said yes.
So if you're interested in, it was a very interesting time to be president, certainly, and we have a lot of presidents that are in the room and on the virtual room, and it was a great experience because there was I somehow had the time to do it, and of course I had a great support in Rick to be able to take that on, but. I think too that it was so exciting at the time because we were in the process of sponsoring the Kingston Waterfront Club, and Dave Hallett had been instrumental in getting me involved in the Cataraqui Club, and Dave and Keith were starting to be sort of the godfathers of the Kingston Waterfront Club. And that was such an interesting experience because there was such a crossover with District. And that was my first real experience with working with District and understanding the different personalities that happen within clubs and how people come together and they really do share that personality as part of the club. And then when you look at District, it's a bit more like a family. So you've got all of these people that are sometimes like-minded and sometimes not, and have different viewpoints about how to get the same goal accomplished, but everybody's kind of at the same goal. And I think that was a great year because of all of the things that were going on that required collaboration, required a lot of travel and training. And we had some really, we had a wonderful group of very like-minded young women who were all at the same time. And so we got to hang out at those district conferences and had a lot of fun just getting to know one another because we were coming from a shared experience. And I don't know if that might have been the situation 25 years ago in Rotary. And so that was a really great introduction to the wider world of Rotary. Jacinth is asking a question here. Michelle, what was the last book you read? So I love audiobooks, Jacinth. So I listen to a lot of audiobooks, and I am currently in Mark Carney's new book by audio. So I'm a little bit of the way through it. Of course, the name is escaping me right now. So I'm sort of in the middle of that. The last paper book that I read was probably a John Grisham, because my dad loves John Grisham, and so he passed that on. We do have a number of books. I'm trying to find our paper copy of Chris Hadfield's book, the Astronaut's Guide to Living on the Earth, I think it's called. And we read it several years ago. I'm trying to find our copy of that right now. So great question. So I think that's it